We continue now at the top of Daf Samech Beis Amud Aleph and Mesechet Yevamos. This is Yevamos Daf 62a. On the previous summer, there was a machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. How many children does a person have to have in order to fulfill the mitzvah of Pirya V'Ribya? Beis Shammai say the person should have 2 sons, and Beis Hillel say the person should have a son and a daughter. And so the Gemara says, why doesn't Beis Shammai learn from Beis Hillel's source, from Brias HaOlam? And so the Gemara answers over here, Misha'i Efshar, we can't learn something possible from something that was impossible. As Rashi over here says, Misha'i Efshar di lo ivroi Chava lo have nekeva achrisi. Had Chava not been created, there wouldn't be another female. That was an impossible situation otherwise. Aval hachbet over here, Mishayesh lo shnei zecharim nekevos harbe ba'olam. If somebody has 2 males, there are many females in the world, and so therefore, when it comes to a person now, in terms of what the mitzvah is 2 males according to Beis Shammai. And the Gemara continues, Beis Hillel namin leilfu mi Moshe. So why doesn't Beis Hillel, why don't they learn from Moshe Rabbeinu? That's where Beis Shammai learned 2 sons, because Moshe Rabbeinu had 2 sons, and then he separated from his wife. And the Gemara answers, Amri loch, they'll say to you, Moshe midaite hu da'avid. Moshe did that from his own das. Rashi over here says, midaite misham shchina, meaning he was a unique situation. He had to do that because of the shchina. He had to speak with the shchina, therefore he needed to separate from his wife. V'yasser l'shar kol adam lasos ken enochinami. It would be forbidden for other people to do what Moshe Rabbeinu did, and therefore you can't bring a proof from Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Gemara continues, the Tanya, as we learned in the Brisa, Shlosha devarim asa Moshe midaito. There are 3 things that Moshe did from his own understanding. V'hiskima daito l'das hamakam, and his understanding ended up agreeing to the intentions of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Brisa says, Pirish min ha'isha, number 1, he separated from his wife. V'shiber haluchos, number 2, he broke the luchos. V'hosef yom echad, and also he added 1 day. Rashi over here says, Hosef yom echad HaKadosh Baruch Hu amar lo v'kidashtem hayom u'machar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him that they should sanctify themselves today and the next day. V'hu amar, but Moshe Rabbeinu said, hayu nechonim l'shloshas yamim, take 3 days to prepare. This was talking about by Maimon Har Sinai. So these 3 things Moshe did with his own understanding, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed. And the Gemara continues, Piresh min ha'isha mai darish. When it came to separating from his wife, what was the drasha that he made? Amar, he said as follows, Umay Yisrael shelo dibre imam shchina lefi shah. If when it comes to Klal Yisrael, the Shechina only spoke with them here and there one time, v'kava lahem zman, and established exactly when that time would be. Amr Torah al tikshu alisha, yet the Torah says, when it came to Maimon Har Sinai, that lefi shah, that there was a speaking with the Shechina. So the Torah says they can't come close, a person shouldn't come close to his wife. Anisha miyuchad l'dibur v'chol shah. So I, Moshe Rabbeinu, that any moment there could be dibur with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'lo kaval izman, there is no set time. Alachas kama v'kama, so certainly, it says Moshe Rabbeinu, I should separate from my wife. V'esgimo daito l'das hamakam, in his opinion, ended up being what HaKadosh Baruch Hu also agreed to. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, lech emor lahem shuvo lachem li'olechem, v'yata po amodi modi, he said, go tell them to return to your tents, meaning you should tell them to return to their wives, but you stay here with me, meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed with Moshe Rabbeinu's reasoning. And the Gemara continues, Shiber es haluchos my darish, he broke the luchos. So what did he darshan with regards to that? Amar, he said, Uma pesach shu echad misheish meos ushlosh esrei mitzvahs. When it comes to Karban Pesach, which is one of the 613 mitzvahs, Amr Torah, the Torah says, Kol ben nechor lo yochal bo, any person who is a stranger shouldn't eat it. HaTorah kula v'Yisrael mumarim, here you have the entire Torah in front of us, and Klal Yisrael is rebelling. Alachas kama v'kama, so certainly should that not be true. V'eskima daito l'das hamakam, and again his understanding agreed with the understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Dichsib, because the pasuk says, Asher shibarta, that you broke the luchos. V'amar Reish Lakish, and Reish Lakish says, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'Moshe, that what was HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying to Moshe? He was saying, Yasher kochacha sheshibarta, you should be given strength. You did the right thing, that you broke the luchos. And we should just note over here that what the drasha over here is from Kol ben nechor lo yochal bo. It means ben nechor even means a Jew who's a rebellious Jew, who's like a mumar, a meshumad. Even that person shouldn't eat from the Karban Pesach, and that was Moshe Rabbeinu's reasoning over here. If Klal Yisrael, the entire Klal Yisrael, are meshumadim, so alachas kama v'kama. And the Gemara continues, Hosef yom echad midaito, he added 1 day from, again, his own understanding. My darash, what was his drasha? Because the pasuk said, v'kidashtem hayom u'machar, that you have to sanctify today and tomorrow. So the idea is, hayom kemachar, today should be like tomorrow. Ma machar leilo imo, just like tomorrow includes the night together with the day. Af hayom leilo imo, so too today should also include the night. However, it's too late. V'layla doy, no nafakle, the night of today is already past. It's already the daytime. It's past the nighttime. Shmami notre yume levar meo idna. So that's why Moshe Rabbeinu understood. You see that it's 2 days, not counting today, besides today. V'eskima daito l'das hamakam, and again, his opinion ended up agreeing with the intentions of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The lo shari yeshchina ad Shabbos, because the Shechina didn't actually come down until Shabbos. And Rashi over here explains that Shabbos of a Mesechet Shabbos beperik Rabbi Akiva Gomrinan Lo. So Mesechet Shabbos, we learn this out. The Ovid Prisha Ba'arba B'Shabbos, that they separated on Wednesday. Upirshu Chamishi V'Shishi Shleimim, and they separated the full Thursday and Friday. Those were the full days of sanctification. Uv'Shabbos Shaya Shechina, and it was on Shabbos the Shechina came down. V'Ushlishi L'Yom HaShleimim, that's the third day when you count from the complete days. V'Yom Rishon Lo Chashuv, you don't count the first day. Shelo Haya Leilo Imo, as we said in the Gemara, the night was not together with that first day, and therefore it does not count in the cheshbon. And the Gemara continues, Tanya, we learned in a Brayso, Rabbi Nosson Omer, Rabbi Nosson says, Beis Shammai Omer, according to Rabbi Nosson, Beis Shammai say, Shnei Zachar Mushtei Nekevas, that the mitzvah of Pir Yevaribya is actually having 2 males and 2 females, you have to have 4 children. Beis Hillel Omer, Zachar Nekevan, Beis Hillel say a male and a female, like we said earlier. Omer Rav Huna says, my time with Rabbi Nosson, what's the reason of Rabbi Nosson, meaning Aliba de Beis Shammai, meaning according to Beis Shammai, where's the source that you need to have 4 children? Because the pasuk says, Vatosef Loledes es Achiv es Havel, it says that she gave birth to another brother, meaning to Hevel. Hevel ve'achoso, and the understanding is it was Hevel, and Hevel also had a sister. And Cain ve'achoso, and there was Cain, and Cain also had a sister, meaning that Chava had 4 children. Uchsiv, and then the pasuk says, Kishasli Elokim zera acher tachas Hevel, ki harogo Cain. It says that she was given another child instead of Hevel because Hevel was killed by Cain. And the implication of the pasuk is she had those other children because there was a requirement, because of Pru Revu, to have 4 children. V'Rabbanan, and the Rabbanan will respond to Rabbi Nosson and say, no, Odu Yehu Dukamodis. What it just means is that she was thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for these other children that she had instead of Hevel, who was killed. But it doesn't mean that there's an obligation. She didn't have the 4 children because there's an obligation to have 4 children. She was just thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for replacing, so to speak, the child Hevel that was lost. And the Gemara continues, Tanya Idach, we learned in another Brayso, Rabbi Nosson Omer, Rabbi Nosson says, Beis Shammai Omer Zachar Nekeva, that Beis Shammai say a male and a female is the mitzvah Pru Revu. Beis Hillel Omer O Zachar O Nekeva, and according to this version, Beis Hillel say either have a Zachar, a male, or have a female, and that is enough to be Mekayim Pru Revu. And the Gemara says, my Rava says, my time with Rabbi Nosson Aliba de Beis Hillel. What is the reason of Rabbi Nosson according to Beis Hillel? Where do you get the idea that it's either a Zachar or a Nekeva? Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Lo So'u Bara Lo Sheves Yitzar. It says the whole point is that the world was not created for nothing, to be empty. Lo Sheves Yitzar, it was created in order to be settled. Va'avad Lo Sheves. And if you have 1 child, you've settled the world, and therefore that's going to be enough to fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Revu. And the Gemara continues, Itmar, it was learned the following machlokas amoroim. Hayulo bonim biyoso over kochavim v'niskayer. Let's say a person already had children when he was not Jewish, and then he converts and he becomes Jewish. So it's a machlokas amoroim. Rabbi Yochanan amar kayim pir yevaribya. Rabbi Yochanan says through that he has fulfilled the mitzvah of Pru Revu. Reish Lakish amar lo kayim pir yevaribya, and Reish Lakish says no, he has not fulfilled the mitzvah of Pru Revu because the children that he had, it was when he was not Jewish. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Kayim Pir Yevaribya Do Havale. Rabbi Yochanan says he's fulfilled Pir Yevaribya because he had children. Reish Lakish Amar Lo Kayim Pir Yevaribya, but Reish Lakish say no, he has not fulfilled Pru Revu. Gersh and Iskayer Kekatan Shanola Dami, because when a person converts, becomes a ger, so it's like he's a newborn person, and therefore whatever he did before is not going to count. And the Gemara continues, V'yazdu l'tamayu. Now Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, they follow the same reasoning in a different machlokas amoroim. The Itmar, because we have the following machlokas amoroim, Hayu lo bonim biyoso over kochavim in a sky. A person has children when he's still a non-Jew and then he converts. Rabbi Yochanan Amar ein lo bechor l'nachla. Rabbi Yochanan says, well, if he already had children, his next child is not going to be considered a bechor in terms of inheritance. To havale reish esona, because he already had the first of his strength, meaning he already had a bechor, he already had a first child, and therefore the next child he has after he converts will not have the status of a bechor. Reish Lakish Amar Reish Lakish says, no, yesh lo bechor l'nachla. The child that he has will be considered a bechor for inheritance, because the same reasoning that Reish Lakish said before. Gershin is gayer kekatan shanola dami, because when a ger converts, it's like a newborn child starts over again, and so that next child is going to be considered a bechor. And the Gemara says with Tzricha, we need both machlokas Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, meaning we need the issue of whether they're Mekayim Piri of Ribya when they're not Jewish, and we need the issue of whether there's a Bechor or not when they convert, even though it seems to be the same machlokas. Why do we need both of them? The Iash mina Bayikam Ma'isa, because if we only had the first case, the issue of whether they fulfilled Pru Revu, Bayikam Rabbi Yochanan, so over there, Rabbi Yochanan says he's already fulfilled Pru Revu, Mishum Demeikara Nami B'nei Piri of Rabbi Yoninu, because even non-Jews are instructed, are commanded in terms of Pru Revu. But when it comes to inheritance, but when it comes to inheritance, so non-Jews are not part of the halachos of inheritance. So Ema Modi like the Reish Lakish, I might say Rabbi Yochanan admits to Reish Lakish that everything starts over when he converts. V'yitmar b'ha kam Reish Lakish, and if we only have the second case, maybe Reish Lakish only says it starts over by inheritance. Avol b'hi ema modulei Rabbi Yochanan. Maybe when it comes to the mitzvah of Pru Revu, he would admit to Rabbi Yochanan's position that they have fulfilled Pru Revu at the time before they became Jewish, and so therefore tzricha. That's why we need both Machlokes and Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish to say they argue in both cases. And the Gemara continues, Eisvei Rabbi Yochanan l'Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan asked Reish Lakish the following question based on a pasuk. The pasuk says, Ba'isa hi shalach beradach baladon ben baladon melech bavel v'gomer. So it has over here the lineage of beradach baladon, that he's the son of Baladon. So you see that there is yichus when it comes to non-Jews, because they're saying he is the son of this particular individual. So Amar Lei, so Reish Lakish said back to Rabbi Yochanan, Biyosan ovdei kochavim, while they're not Jewish, islu chayis, they do have lineage. But nisgairu, but once they convert, less luchayis. That's when they lose their lineage, because it's like they are reborn. So the fact that you have psukim that show that non-Jews have lineage is not really relevant to the issue being discussed, according to Reish Lakish. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav says, Hakol mod, and everybody agrees, be'evid, that when it comes to a slave, she'ein luchayis, an evid is not considered to have any lineage. Dechsiv, like the pasuk says, Shavu lachem poim hachamor. Avram says to his servant, stay here with the donkey. Am hadomer lechamor. And what it's saying is, this is a nation that's comparable to donkeys. In other words, just like animals don't have lineage, so too the slaves don't have lineage. And the Gemara continues, Meisvei, we have the following question on this idea that an Eved doesn't have lineage. The pasuk says, Uletziva chamisha asar banim v'yesrim avodim. It says Tziva had 15 sons and he had 20 servants. So we're talking about a servant. We're talking about a servant here at Tziva, and it says it identifies his lineage. It identifies his children. So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov kipar ben bakar. Rav Acha bar Yaakov said that's no proof at all. It's like saying a par that's the child of a bakar. You're going to say that there's progeny, that the animals have children. It doesn't mean that there's lineage. And the same thing over here. Just because you have an Eved and you say the Eved had children, it doesn't mean there's real yichus. It doesn't mean there's real lineage. Gemara says, well, if so, hachanami. Let's say the same thing by the non-Jews while they're non-Jews. We had the proof before from Baradach Baladon ben Baladon, and we said that proves that they actually do have yichus while they are not Jewish before they convert. Well, why don't we just say that it's just like animals? We're just saying so-and-so, the son of so-and-so, just in terms biologically of who was born from whom. And the Gemara says, no, Shani Hasam diachsinu b'shmayu uv'shma diavon. No, it's different over there, because over there we're not just saying that so-and-so had a child. What we're saying is Baradach Baladon was the son of Baladon. We're giving him yichus through the name of his father. That shows that the Ovdei Kochavim have yichus. But over here it doesn't explain it in that way, and therefore it's not indicating any yichus. And the Gemara continues, if you want, I could say another proof. There's another pasuk where it gives yichus to the non-Jews, and it even identifies not only their father, but also the father's father. It identifies the grandfather as well, which certainly shows that there is yichus. And what is that pasuk? Because the pasuk says, Vayishlachem hamelech Osel ben Hadad ben Tavrimon ben Chezion melech Aram hayoshe b'damesek. So it identifies him as Ben Hadad, the son of Tavrimon, the son of Chezion, and so therefore you have here the son of Chezion, and therefore you have over here a lineage back to the grandfather. Shows again that there is yichus by the non-Jews. Again, hayoshe b'damesek lemor. That's the end of the pasuk. And we'll take a look at a few Rashis over here. Shvu lachem po Eliezer Eved Avram havis. So it says over here in Rashi, we're talking about the slave of Avram, meaning Eliezer, and it says im hachamor, the idea being am hadome lechamor. And Rashi over here also says Tziva Eved Kanani shel Mepiboshes havis. The reason we'll bring a proof from Tziva that Avodim don't have yichus is because Tziva was the Eved Kanani of Mepiboshes. And then the Gemara said Shani hachad yachsinu b'shmayu. It's different over here by the case of the non-Jews as opposed to the slaves. We're actually giving them the yichus by their names. Shehizkir Shemo Ushmo Shalaviv. We're not only mentioning his name and the name of his father, Baladon ben Baladon, Alma Bon Mikru. You see that they really are considered children, and there's yichus. But here you're mentioning that the Tziva had children, not mentioning any names. Therefore, again, it's no proof that there is yichus. And the Gemara continues, Itzmar, we have the following, Machlokas Amoroim, Hayulo Bonim Vamesu. Let's say a person has children and the children die. Rav Huna Amar Kayim Pirya V'Ribya. Rav Huna says that the person still has fulfilled the mitzvah Pru Revu. Rav Yochanan Amar Lo Kayim. Rav Yochanan says he has not fulfilled the mitzvah Pru Revu. He has to have additional children. Rav Huna Amar Kayim. Rav Huna says he has fulfilled the mitzvah Mishum de Ravasi, because the whole mitzvah is based on what Ravasi said. The Amar Ravasi, because Ravasi said, Ein ben David ba ad sheyichlu kol neshama shebeguf. Ben David is not going to come. In other words, Mashiach is not going to come until all the souls have finished into bodies, have been born into bodies. Shenemar kiruach milfon hayato v'gomer quotes this pasuk. The pasuk also mentions this idea of the spirits in the bodies, and so therefore the idea is that over here also the person has had children, the soul, the neshama, has gone into the body, and that is a fulfillment of the mitzvah. Even if the child dies, the mitzvah has still been fulfilled. For Rabbi Yochanan Amar, but Rabbi Yochanan says, Lo kayim piri v'ribya, he has not fulfilled Puru Revu if the child dies. Lo sheves yitzar binan, because again the point is that the world was created lo sheves, to settle the world. V'halekan, here you don't have settlement of the world if the child dies. And the Gemara continues, Meisvei, we have the following question, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Samech Beis Amid Beis.